All right, cool. Welcome to this thing that I don't have a name for yet, but it's mostly an experiment to just talk about theater happening in Oklahoma. I'm starting with Oklahoma City because that's where I live and that's the theater that I can go see very easily. Um, but yeah, so it's less of a review thing and more of I want to dig into the process of stuff. Dakota, you are here because I saw Shakespeare Conspiracy over the weekend, and Shakespeare Conspiracy at Third Act Theater Company, for anybody who's not aware of where that show is happening. And you are in it, you costume design, and you are also president of the board at Third Act.
Correct. Yes. Triple duty, as it would appear.
Yeah.
No. The Shakespeare Conspiracy currently playing at Third Act Theater Company at the Shops at North Park. It's a wonderful little spy drama, queer romance mixed with who wrote William Shakespeare's works and putting into that classic like intrigue question of whether Shakespeare wrote his works or not. Though, as I think, Adam, you could agree, it's more of a tongue-in-cheek kind of farce at certain points when it comes to Shakespeare and his writings. But we get to that later.
Sure. Yeah, we should put up the spoiler warning at the beginning here. If you're looking to figure out whether or not to see the show, my answer is go see the show. That should be a no-brainer. Don't wait for a review, just go see it and then come back to this and listen to what we talk about. And that way, we don't have to worry about spoilers. We can talk about whatever we want.
Absolutely. Yeah. Come make sure you, whatever you're doing, pause this and come back after the show so that you can come and get the commentary and any of the like insider secrets.
Yeah. All right. With that out of the way. Yeah, I did. I don't fully know what I was expecting just out of the blurb that you had listed on your website and the title. But I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of farce that started happening with the will the constable catch them in the act sort of thing. So yeah, that was really fun. But I'm probably getting ahead of myself again. I really was curious, how involved are you in deciding the season at Third Act?
As far as it goes with me deciding, being president of the board, I kind of facilitate a artistic venture with Third Act. So we actively have an artistic director, and our artistic director selects our season. And that season is kind of worked over between, I'm trying to think, like response and feedback from not only our audience, but our community, the directors that submit and want to work within our season. We take a look at the suggestions that they bring to the table and how that would work within not only our community, but our specific patrons that we're marketing to. And then our artistic director kind of manipulates and figures out how to fill in those gaps. So as far as how hands-on am I in selecting the season, I suggest maybe one or two shows that I'm interested in directing, and if they get picked up, they get picked up. And then sometimes I suggest a show and am able to facilitate and talk a little bit more about it. Like for me, I submitted to do Hamlet this season, and so I've had a little bit more of a hands-on approach on how that script gets translated and worked through and adapted. But as far as the other, 8 shows in the season that we have, those are actively selected and kind of curated by Amanda Nell-Bold, our artistic director.
Great, cool. Did you have a hand in helping to guide or select Shakespeare Conspiracy to be part of the season?
How did this
come up?
I didn't help guide. It was something that I submitted. So I absolutely love these works that take something that we know and give a brand new kind of breath to them. One of the shows that really kind of cemented this for me was Equivocation by Bill Kane. It kind of takes Shakespeare's writing of Macbeth, but they take Shakespeare and utilize his name as Shakespeare because one of the like signatures we have makes it look like instead of Shakespeare, it's Shakespeare. So the whole character revolves around this and how equivocation is utilized in the language of Shakespeare's plays to kind of tell a political message. It deals with the gunpowder plot and Cecil kind of doing the same thing that Sir Francis does in our show. But when I was in school at Rockford University, I had the chance to meet Rufus Cadigan, who was the playwright of the Shakespeare Conspiracy. And we got to talking, and we had some really great, like, he was an old acting professor at my school who had retired when I transferred in. So we were kind of in this passing phase, and he wanted me to audition almost a decade ago for the production that he was trying to mount, and it didn't work out. You know, I was in school, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. Director went a different production route. Everything was great. 10 years later, we are getting ready to submit and do season 3, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do Hamlet. I've got this other Shakespeare show that it might be good. You might hate it, you might love it, but it's a little bit different. It's got this queer love story. It's got this like police drama that kind of follows along with it. It's unlike anything you've read. And then from there, we kind of just melded together. Amanda Nell loved it. And it became finding the right director, getting the team together, auditions, and selecting this wonderful team of 6 brilliant men. I mean, I hate to say brilliant because it makes it sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I really do love working with my castmates. I may not be brilliant, but they are fantastic.
No, you all played together very well. It was just a great ensemble. There was never a time where I was sitting there going, oh, when is this character going to come back on stage? It's feeling a little flat. It didn't matter who was out there. You all were just killing it, I guess.
Thank you. That's another thing, though, that's really awesome about this script. It's very, even from the very beginning moments of it, it's very interwoven and ensemble heavy. And Chris did a very great job, I think, of interweaving all of the different multiple characters. Like we have Jonah Muscarella, who plays Lord Henry, but also plays Henry Skiers, who is one of the assassins that they bring on to kill Marlowe. And so you see this like real foppish character that slides in with this giant like Marie Antoinette wig, but in the next moment, literally, there's one scene where they have 15 seconds to get in and out of costume to walk back on stage, and they're a completely different character. So I really love the way Rufus took the book and kind of interwove this narrative. It's really, really fun to play it.
Yeah, speaking of that costume change, you did costume design. Was that a massive consideration as you were considering what those 2 characters would look like, knowing that quick turnaround needed to happen?
Oh yeah. What's really great is I love working with a team, and we are super lucky to have a lot of collaborative hands-on community designers at Third Act. And one of the very first meetings we had in production was Chris Cuss, our director, sat down and he was like, Dakota, we've got to make sure that as Henry transitions from Risley to Skiers, we don't have this like big chunk and block of moment, and we don't want to milk the witches Macbeth like monologue. We get a very limited amount of lines there to cover this quick change. So we began trying to figure out what would be the quickest and best way, and to take you from a like noble looking costume to a very like short costume, what is it, like lower class costume that didn't take forever to get into. And we've developed the little neck piece that pops off, the sleeves lose their lace, and then we throw a brown coat over, lose the wig completely, and our changers have it down to about 5 to 10 seconds.
Very nice.
It's very, very nice. And there's nights when I'm stepping off, closing the doors, and I just hear out they go. So it's really nice to be able to like experience that technical part that you also helped create, because it's just, I don't know, being an artist and contributing and acting is one thing, but also being able to witness that technical bit and that magic that happens backstage is just really fun every night.
Yeah, quick changes are great. as a stagehand who got to witness many quick changes, when they are coordinated well,
it's
it
magic.
It is. It's amazing that more shows don't do them on stage, because if people could see how they work, it's beautiful.
Oh
when a
yeah,
good quick change runs smoothly.
one of my biggest recommendations, if you're a theater person, or even if you're not a theater person and you want to see the magic of a quick change, watch Kelly O'Hara do her quick change on the King and I Broadway production. They have this backstage video where she goes off in one giant dress. They change her in about 15 seconds and she goes on in a ball gown. It is absolutely magical, and you can find it on YouTube. So highly recommended if you want to see it like in full gear, fully filmed and ready to go.
Yeah, I'll look for it. Maybe I can link to that when this is posted, wherever it ends up being posted. Yeah. Were there any other considerations in your costume design process as you were putting things together? Were you going for mostly period? Were you going for impression of period?
Yeah, it's always hard because to get true period, especially at the community level with like the budgets that we're working with and the timeline that we're working with, it's I don't want to cuss on this, but it's darn near impossible. And so we decided, instead of going for that modern flair like we did with Ideal Husband, we wanted to do something that was reminiscent of period. It felt period, but was also elevated to give it that kind of like anonymous spy thriller drama. There's a lot of fur, there's a lot of patterns and dark saturated colors in this piece. And it really, to me, is trying to bring out that like dark comedy, that evil satire that we see, because it also deals, you know, with queer romances and like how we keep those in the dark. It deals with the corruption of the church and how government was working at this time with the killing of Catholics versus spies giving up information because the state was torturing them. So we have a lot of these darker elements. And so you see that reflected in the dark colors, the black velvets, the big fluffy black coats. Lots of different transitions there.
Yeah, you mentioned the darker elements. And one of the things that stuck out to me while watching the show is how those darker elements just sort of seem to sneak in that for the most part, it felt like I was watching a comedy piece and a farce all about, oh, we're pulling the wool over Sir Francis, right? Sir Francis, we're pulling the wool over his eyes.
Well, Henry Maunder, yeah. And Sir Francis was the evil spy master. Yeah, Don Taylor. Yeah, so we're hiding this from Francis. We're hiding all of this. We're tricking Maunder, who's slowly figuring out piece by piece by finding these identical lines, and even catches them at one moment. We have a full-on Three Stooges moment where Shakespeare and Marlowe are talking about how Shakespeare's mad that the sonnets had been written to a man and been dedicated to a man. So now he's being called the gay author, and Marlowe is like, listen, I don't know what your problem is. You're making all this money. And Shakespeare's like, well, there's this guy that's following us. And he walks right in. And then Keegan Zimmerman and I are trying to figure out a way to get off stage. Then Thomas, the lover of Marlowe, walks in, and it causes all this just dastardly trauma and like issues that arise, mistaken identities, and then we never see Shakespeare again because he gets so scared. Again, spoiler alert. So if you've not seen the show, don't watch any of this.
Yeah. Been warned. They've been warned many times.
Right. But the darker elements really do sneak up in there, especially the death sequences at the end. And it's because you want to invest. And if you don't care about these characters, you don't laugh at them, you don't laugh with them, you don't care that bad things happen to them at the end. And then when they learn their lesson, even if it's too late, you don't care. So the moments that we have that are funny, we've got those English jokes, we've got just dumb humor jokes. I mean, everything you could ask for. There's even a butt joke and a whore joke that happens at the end of Act 1. So everything you could ask for, really. And then just like the rest of it leads into a rom-com that's a sad spy thriller.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like the parts where I had to keep reminding myself, oh no, if Marlowe gets caught, they will kill him.
Right.
Like this isn't just a light hijinks thing. Every so often there would just be suddenly a line of, oh, this other person that we caught is now dead, and this other person we've caught, we've killed them too. They, the way they show up, it is slightly startling to be reminded, I've been having a great time. Oh, that's right, death is on the line.
Right. Oh wow, wait, we have a serious thing. Like you fall in love with Henry Risley, who's got the big hair and the sassy attitude, and then suddenly he throws his attitude at Sir Francis, and the next day he's in the Tower of London, and then the next week he's dead.
Yeah, and Keegan's first character at the very beginning of the show, he doesn't fare well either.
He makes it 3 pages in and is gone. Thomas Kidd, he comes in asking for help and literally tries to flee. They catch him and kill him. It's really, it really does help reinforce that importance, what's on the line, because I as Marlowe feel like I'm actively playing against that. All of the other characters around me, like Thomas and Henry, are trying to say, hey, this is a really bad thing, you need to pay attention. And Marlowe is very flippant, like, well, catch me if you can catch me. I'll just run. You can't catch what you can't catch. And eventually, he even has the line, finally, at last, I'll get what's coming to me. So it's very apropos that finally, at the last little bit there, the cop catches him and they have this beautiful moment of reconciliation because everyone's learned what we're going through and what's on the line. And is what is chasing another atheist for the crown's benefit, what he wants to do.
Yeah. Do you think this story then is mostly told through the eyes of Marlowe in that that's why it remains so silly, because it takes until Christopher Marlowe realizes it's serious before the play can get serious?
It's really hard for me to say that because I see it as through the eyes of Marlowe, being Marlowe, but in all honesty, I think this production, like this show, this book is actually through the eyes of Thomas. I think it is their kind of love story. And yes, Christopher Marlowe is the main character, but I think Christopher Marlowe is the main character because they needed someone to write the stories for Shakespeare, and it couldn't just be Thomas. The way that this play really works structures around the narrative of what Thomas is doing for love. I mean, even Act 2 starts with the love letters from Thomas to Marlowe, and all of Marlowe's responses are very much about what Marlowe has going on for him. So we see Thomas suffer the most throughout the course of the play. He has a perfect life, nothing's going wrong. Then Marlowe gets into trouble and they start having troubles, and he's covering up, and if at the end of the show, he literally puts his life on the line for him and loses it. And Marlowe says, that's one more that loved not wisely, but too well. And I really think the play could almost end there with Thomas and Francis dying of poison at the end, because it's such a sad, heart-wrenching moment when Rob passes into the beyond and walks into the garden there at the back. But we have to have the resolve with Marlowe, since it is about Christopher Marlowe's writing. But I think the humor is infused from Marlowe. I think having that kind of quippy, like queer sassiness coming out from the lower class and the artistic writer and everything, because there's a lot of playback between Henry and Shakespeare and Marlowe that kind of drive the humor. But I think the power of the story is driven by Thomas.
Yeah, that's
sorry, that's a lot of rambling. I've been with this story for a long time, though.
That's why you're the person to ask, because I can take what I saw and internalize the story. This part of what's great about theater is that everybody that sees it is going to have their own takeaway from it.
Absolutely.
And it is great that I can take my takeaway from it and come to you, who has been living with this for, I don't I don't know how long your design and rehearsal process is, but I assume several weeks.
Oh yes, we started probably there at the end of January. So we had about a month before we went into the tech week, which was a full-on tech, like full week of tech, and then into performance.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So you've had time. You've internalized a lot of it. And
Yes.
it's great to see what comes through and what I was able to pick up on, and if they were intentional or if they're just part of the magic of live performance.
Right.
So yeah, it is great to hear that it is the tragedy of Thomas that is the through point, in that, yeah, somehow I guess I was just so enamored with the largeness of everybody else on that stage that Thomas fell to the background until Act 2, when it starts with those love letters. And then that's sort of when it dawned on me that, oh, maybe this is his story and not Marlowe's. But Marlowe's the one still having fun.
So. Oh, right. No, it's definitely got Marlowe's story in there. It's definitely a fun time for him, and up until the end. But that again is a wonderful thing about ensemble pieces. There's a lot to be said that this could be Keegan's show, because the Shakespeare is on for 3 scenes, but the 3 scenes that Shakespeare is on, you remember those 3 scenes because he's being an crazy. We've got all the jokes going on, and it's the bigger than life scenes.
Yeah, when Keegan is on stage, it's very difficult to forget that he was there. I've seen him in several things, and he commands a presence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of, was it a directorial choice or in the script, the accent that he chose to give?
That was developed between him and Chris. They wanted to give. It's so hard when you're walking the line of like, are we going to offend a Shakespearean purist, or like, is somebody going to get mad? So Chris was very much hands-on on this atmosphere of, it's not about Shakespeare writing the shows, about Marlowe writing the shows. It's just, this is the story that's being told. Here are these characters. And in that rehearsal process, Keegan started with this accent that we got. And Chris was like, I love that. Let's play with that. Let's go with it. And it developed into what it was. And I think it's a really great take, because it's not what you would expect. Everybody else has got these heightened English dialects, and then suddenly Shakespeare comes in and is like, howdy y'all, ooh, King's Lear. So it's wonderful. I think it was a wonderful, playful thing that we had in rehearsal that translated into the stage. So it's really nice to see how playful moments like that in rehearsal can translate into actual performance pieces.
It worked. I did like that thought of this name that we all equate with these plays that are being written by somebody else, the front man. It's very much a like a Singing in the Rain sort of thing. It's like you've got the face, and then you've got somebody else's voice behind the face, and then once you hear the face speak, it is so counter to what you expect that face to sound like, and it was quite delightful.
And it helps you like get into that fantasy of, oh, this is not who I'm supposed to know, or this isn't who I read in high school as that man with the frilly little thing on his neck with the weird toupee comb over, like, which we do still have the frilly little thing on the neck. We did try and get some little images of our traditional Shakespeare in there.
I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about this show? Any intriguing little bits that you want to share?
I will say that one of the things that I think has been one of like the biggest benefits to me is working with Third Act. We get to work with a lot of new playwrights. And like when we produced Bella Poynton's Medusa Undone, we did Vincent Hannon's Frankenstein. So they are like newer artists, newer playwrights, not as produced or well-known produced playwrights. And with this one, we had Rufus Cadigan, who was the playwright, and Ted Bacino, who was the author. And Rufus actually was able to attend the show. He was there Friday for opening. And so it's getting down to sit with Rufus and getting to have that interaction with the playwright and the artists. It was really, really fun. We recognized Rufus from the stage. We got to talk with Rufus afterwards, had that like actor to artist playwright kind of communication. It was really, really nice. And it's always wonderful to get to see people who've written the thing that you're performing and talk with them. And Rufus was just over the moon and so full of compliments and like love and admiration for the show. So that is the only thing I could think of. It was so wonderful to see like you bringing someone's work to life, and like I'm sure you're familiar with that when you do that every year with Theater Crew's Fringe Festival. Like thousands of people's shows are being brought to life. So like being able to see those artists and seeing their work come to fruition, it's why we're here, it's why we do it. So it was really nice for us to get to experience that with this show. So that's the only thing I really could think of extra that I would want to say.
Did he just happen to have the time free to be able, I'm assuming he's not from Oklahoma City.
No, he's from Rockford. Yeah, okay. Ted is from California and Rufus lives in Rockford. What we do is we offer, if any of the playwrights want, they have tickets and they can come see it. And Rufus was adamant that he wanted to come and see it. So he and his son flew in from Chicago. They came and saw it Friday night and left Saturday afternoon. And I've been getting text messages ever since about how much he loves the show and where can we send people for streaming tickets and where are we getting production shots and stuff like that. So it's been really wonderful just bringing this to him and having him come down here to see it with us.
Yeah, that's great. Streaming, you just do the final performance of the run is just live stream only?
Correct. So with this season and since we went into the pandemic season, we offered a streaming option so that anyone at home that didn't feel safe going out or didn't want to see it could stream it and still feel like they had access to their community theater. As those restrictions have lifted and we've gotten more people coming back, we've been offering the streaming option. And in this case, it's been really nice because the playwright has been recommending to people outside of the state and it's getting access outside of our normal viewership. So that's been really wonderful. But yes, specifically for season 3, all of our final Sunday performances are live streamed.
So is this the type of thing you think Third Act will stick with, knowing that you can now get that reach out of state?
Potentially. We have seen actually an increase in our streaming productions as we've gone on in our years. You know, the longer you're around, the more people know about you and the more access they take to you. So it is something that we're looking at potentially keeping and also utilizing for moments like being able to restream shows, or if you miss seeing like Heartbreak House a couple months ago, we had an offer where we restreamed a couple of our older productions so that people could have access. And if they didn't see it then, they could see it now. So hopefully having that kind of archival footage and like access for our patronage and audience members will continue and only boost our viewership in the future.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah.
You have anything happening in town that you're excited about that you want to give a shout out to?
Oh my gosh, let's see. There's first and foremost, if you're listening to this, there's tons of theater in your community. Get out, see it. Go anywhere, spend money, give those artists the time and attention because they are working their butts off to make sure that you have entertainment. So if you see shows, go. That is my first and foremost. Being a theater creator here, it's very hard because I have lots of friends and lots of shows, so I don't get to see every one of them. So every one of you, go see them for me. That being said, I know that a friend of mine, Michelle Hall and Denise Hughes, are doing a production of, oh my God, they're gonna kill me. It's a Neil Simon show. Rumors at the Jewel Box Theater. And I don't think that's open and running yet, but I highly recommend when it is open and running, getting those tickets. Michelle and Denise are wonderful. The cast I've seen is great. So that is a shout out that I would like to give. And Factory Obscura, if you ever have anything you want to do on a boring Saturday, go be entertained at Factory Obscura. They've got plenty of things. My partner and I recently went to see Seed Reef. And it's a paper like underwater installation, and then you get to seed the reef and add your own piece of paper installation. I got 2 fish out there. Highly recommend it. It's a wonderful tactile visual experience. Can't recommend Factory Obscura enough.
Very nice. Yes, they partnered with us in our last festival. They are fantastic people over there. I will sing their praises. They are a
Absolutely,
great
every
group.
single day.
All right.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Cool. Great. Thank you for joining me. We've
Thank
been
you for
talking
having
for a
me,
half
Adam.
hour. How about that? Time
Yeah,
flies.
that's great. I really appreciate you asking me. I really appreciate you coming out to the show. And if you ever have anything else, feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk to you again.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. COVID sort of threw a wrench in everything, but it is great to get out and see the things that are being produced. And now I have this nice excuse to talk to people that produce the things in this like faux professional manner. So yeah, I'm looking
Podcasting,
forward to. I'll be
it's the
around
best
town.
way. Awesome. Well, we look forward to having you, Adam. And thank you so much. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Will do. Thank you for
All
your
right.
time, Dakota.
Thank
We'll
you,
see you
Adam.
around.
Bye.